This is the equipment I used in this lab. These are the chemicals, copper 2 sulfate and iron filings and deionized water. And I also had to use a hot plate to heat up the copper 2 sulfate solution. This is the mass of the empty beaker before I started. This is the mass of the iron filings. I poured 30 milliliters of copper 2 sulfate into the graduated cylinder. This is what the iron filings looked like before they reacted. Here's 30 milliliters of copper 2 sulfate. I transferred the copper 2 sulfate to the Erlenmeyer flask. I began heating the copper 2 sulfate on the hot plate. When it was boiling, I knew to take it off the heat. Then I transferred it to the iron filings using a wooden splint. The wooden splint allows it to not foam over. As you can see, I lost a little of the copper 2 sulfate, which is not a problem since I had that in excess. So I poured the copper 2 sulfate in, swirled it quite a bit. I used the wooden splint to mix it even more, and I allowed this to sit for 10 minutes. After it had sat for 10 minutes, I was going through the decanting process. That just means pouring off the liquid to leave the copper behind. So if you just want to be careful that you don't pour off any of the solid. So you could see the solution has changed in color slightly. So you want to get all of that liquid off. And I should be left with a new solid. The next step and the final step is really washing the solid. So I want to remove any of the copper 2 sulfate, any of the other ions in the solution. So I used some deionized water. I repeated this several times and then placed the product in the oven, allowed it to dry, and then took it out and masked the beaker with the solid product. Here's the solid product with the iron filings next to it, and here's the solid product and beaker. I repeated the experiment again. I started with a different beaker. The empty beaker was 31.82 grams, which I don't have a picture of, but this was the final mass of the beaker and solid.